Welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing. Today's guest is a powerhouse of quiet wisdom and fierce action. Carla Ondrasik is the creator of the No Try philosophy and the author of Stop Trying, the life-transforming power of trying less and doing more. After 2 decades helping to shape the music of icons like Barbra Streisand, Mariah Carey, and Cher, Carla is stepping into her own spotlight, 61 years young. Today, we are diving into how the word try may be holding you back from real transformation. So get ready to rethink effort, embrace action, and stop trying to live your best life and just start doing it. Boy, everything has gotten so expensive these days. It sure is nice to tell you about a product and a company that most recently cut their price in half despite of all this inflation madness. Yes, this podcast is sponsored by MD Hearing. MD Hearing makes high quality, easy to use, rechargeable hearing aids with unbelievable sound quality that are personalized for your hearing profile. Get the high quality, affordable hearing aids you deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com, use promo code OVER50 to get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Plus, they are adding a free extra charging case, a $100 value just for listeners of Over 50 and Flourishing. That is shopmdhearing.com, use promo code OVER50 and get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Hey ladies, if you're dealing with thinning hair, I just want you to know there is something you can do about it. Let me share with you Vegamore's Grow Hair Serum. Vegamore is the leader in plant-powered, science-backed solutions for thinning hair. The Grow Hair Serum was recently named the #1 prestige hair serum and is clinically proven to reduce shedding, leaving you with visibly fuller and healthier hair. Listen, are you tired of dealing with the shedding and the thinning? Take back control of your hair with Vegamore. For a limited time, go to vegamore.com/over50, code over50 to get 20% off your first order. That's vegamor.com/over50, code over50 to save 20% on your first order. vegamor.com/over50. Code over50. Oh, spring has sprung, and that's when the bugs come. Look, it's inevitable. It happens to all of us. You get bugs during this time of year, and when they do show up, you want them gone fast. Let me tell you about Pesty. Have you ever thought about actually doing it yourself? Yeah, do-it-yourself pest control. You can protect your own home easily and for a quarter of the cost. Other pest control companies charge over $800 a year, but with Pesty, you can get started for just $35 per treatment with a customized plan based on your location, your particular kind of bug, and your climate. Protect your home from bugs with Pesty. Go to pesty.com/over50 for an extra 10% off your order. That's pestie.com/over50 for an extra 10% off. Carla, welcome to Over 50 and Flourishing. My dear, you are most definitely flourishing. When I read your intro, even my head exploded with all of the incredible things that you have done in your life. Okay, before we even get into this trying business, I want to hear about your amazing career in the music industry. I mean, you are behind some of the big powerhouses that we all grew up listening to.
Yeah, that's one of the joys of being in the over 50 crowd, right?
Yes.
I got to work with some of the real amazing legends and singers. Okay, so I just by accident got into the music publishing world. I was dating a guy who was working during the day and he'd come home and record in his little studio. And I thought, let's get your song on the radio. And I got a book called The Songwriter's Market, and it just told me what to do. Put your music on a cassette. That's how long ago it was, right? Yes. And I met with publishers, and that very first day, I got his song recorded. It was with an international publisher, and it was recorded in 6 different languages. And I thought to myself, this is what I want to do. I love this world. And so I quit my job. I had a really good job at the time and moved up to Hollywood and just started meeting with people, and I got a little job and then a better job and then a better job, and which led all the way up to vice president of creative writer development for EMI Music Publishing. That was my final job. But during that time, I worked with catalogs of the Beatles and Paul Anka and amazing songwriters. And I got to sign new writers and develop the staff we had. And like a really fun story is I gave a song to a girl named Brenda K. Starr. And for her,
I know the name.
It was a huge hit. The song was called I Still Believe. But at the time, Mariah Carey was her backup singer. That's how long ago this was. And Mariah ended up recording the song as well. And I've worked with Barbra Streisand and Johnny Mathis, and I'd say one of Christina Aguilera, like a recent, her breakout single was Genie in a Bottle. And I put the two writers together that wrote that song and said, you guys need to write something, and gave it to this girl, and it became a huge hit for her. And my greatest satisfaction and career win would be I discovered a guy. I heard his voice through a wall, and I said, that's a voice that needs to be on the radio. And I went and saw him perform in a little club off of Melrose, and signed him and developed him and got him a record deal, and then married him. His name is Carla Ondrasik, and he performs under the moniker Five for Fighting. And he's sold millions of records. He's still touring. He's still doing his thing. And we've been married for 27 years and have 2 kids. And it's just a great story.
Oh my gosh, it is an amazing story of an industry. And I love these things where you didn't necessarily seek it, it found you. But it ignited this fire inside you, and then you ran with it, which is kind of your mantra as we talk about your anti-try method, right? You don't believe in trying, you believe in doing. And how long were you in this industry, and what were some of the skill sets that you developed along the way working with some of these powerhouses? Because I'm sure there were some incredible life lessons that were taking place during this time.
100%. I to start at the beginning, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I knew I wanted to be a publisher. So how do you do that? Okay. So you jump right into the middle. I started my own company. I just literally advertised in a music magazine. It was called Music Connection. And I said, I'm a publisher, and send me your songs and I'll get them placed. And immediately I became a publisher from day one.
But no experience.
With no experience. And I got songs in the mail. And here's a little example. So a life lesson. You have to just start doing. So I got a song. It was called Machine Gun Love. And I heard that Denise Williams was going to be speaking at UCLA. So I went to the class and I brought my cassette down to her and said, I have a great song for you. Boom. Like, I didn't go through a record company or a management company. I knew where she was going to be, and I was professionally prepared. I had an envelope with a lyric sheet in my cassette. And I'll never forget, she called and said, Carla, I love the song, but I'm a Christian and I'm not going to sing Machine Gun Love. So can I change the lyric?
Right.
And I checked with the writers. And so there I became a publisher right then and there.
It almost sounds like you were this music matchmaker that was taking place behind the scenes. You were getting the music, you were getting the song, and you were just pairing it with the perfect artist. How did you, and also, that's kind of ballsy, Carla, to go up to these people, who are big names and say, you don't know me, but have I got a song for you?
Oh my, big time. And here's like lesson number 2 is to do things the way everybody else is doing them. There's so much competition. There were thousands of people that wanted to get on the Barbra Streisand record, or thousands of people that want to get on Madonna or whoever at the time. And you have to get creative and create new avenues for yourself. So one thing I would do is, nobody was going to attorneys They were going to record labels, to managers, to, any A&R person that they could get to. I thought, well, an attorney has to give their client whatever's brought to them. So I made relationships with attorneys, and then I would get my songs sent directly to the artist that way. If somebody wouldn't see me, like a high level person in a music business, I would literally say, please tell them I'm on my way over, and I will sit in the lobby until they come out and get my song. I got on the Cher record that way. I gave her title track, Heart of Stone, to her huge comeback career for the United States. You just have to be really aggressive and fearless, and because there's nothing to lose, and create new ways of doing things that people don't think about.
And I think that's such an important life lesson. And we're going to talk about this kind of branching off that you are doing right now, because these are such amazing pearls of wisdom. And I find so often many women sit back and there's a lot of fear that prohibits them from stepping forward. And everything that I'm hearing about your story is this complete abandonment of imagined fear. And I'm going to get out there. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to take some risks, roll the dice, and see where it lands.
When we're younger, we tend to be more fearless, but apropos to this conversation, I have to tell you, I'm terrified right now. I have a book coming out, and I think as we get older, we learn to be more afraid. It's just easier to be more afraid, but I am blocking it out. Like every day I have to block out that fear and say, is it real or is it imagined? And become really conscious of, what am I afraid of? But it's very easy to allow fear to prevent us from doing things. But it is a skill and it is a choice. So every day I'm choosing to kind of embrace the fear, acknowledge it, but go do anyway in spite of it.
Why do you think that is, Carla? Because it's so interesting. I mean, as I listen to your story, you were young, inexperienced, but yet, bam, you put yourself out there in such big and powerful ways. You are so full of wisdom and encouragement. And we're going to get deeper into all of that, but it fascinates me as somebody, and we're similar in age, to suddenly pivot and now be afraid of something, right? Like putting out a book. So why is it that you can approach Cher with her biggest comeback song, and that's cool, but releasing a book is so scary?
Well, that's a great question. Well, okay. I have been the star maker. I've been the behind the scenes. I have made careers for so many people. And I am really fearless when it comes to promoting someone else. And even as a parent, you'll do anything for your kids. There's no fear. But now I'm putting myself in the front and I have to promote myself. And that's a little more uncomfortable and new. So I would say, that's one of the reasons that I'm feeling this now. And we kind of learn to be afraid as we get older. You see the pitfalls, you see the consequences. You're the longer you're here, the more wisdom you get, and you have more to be afraid of. But I think that we can flip that. And I think that's part of the no try message, is just do what I'm doing. I acknowledge it and I see it, but I'm 61 and I'm still learning and failing and growing, and I'm excited. I am so alive right now. And that means I have to face my fears every day.
Yeah, I love that. And can I just thank you, honestly, for your honesty and transparency about that? Because people would look at somebody like you and say, my gosh, what a heavy hitter in what a cutthroat industry. I mean, this woman has gravitas. And yet here she is being open and honest and vulnerable about the fact that now she has to put herself out there in a very different way and is making this major pivot in midlife. And can I tell you, that speaks to a lot of women, Carla, who are assessing where they are, maybe wanting to reinvent themselves. Maybe they've been at careers for 20 and 30 years, or they've been, stay-at-home moms, which is a career in and of itself. And now they're trying something new, and they are exactly where you are. So this, I think, is kind of the impetus for this, no try method. And so your book is Stop Trying: The Life Transforming Power of Trying Less and Doing More. How did you land on that? What was your epiphany?
On the whole concept.
Yes.
Um, so I think that I was born a person who just goes and gets it. And I remember being a little girl and there was a contest at school to win a book. And I remembered saying, I'm going to win that book. Okay. Like my mindset was, I will be the winner. And I did. I worked so hard to do what I had to do to win the contest. And I did win. But as I was growing up, so that kind of just is the person that I am inside. But also, I was raised a gambler's daughter. My father, we had an unconventional upbringing, my sisters and I. And I think it really taught us to think on our feet, to be ready for anything. And sometimes anything did happen. So I just realized that, you being in the moment and being ready for the moment is a survival skill. And I carried that into my life and the careers that I've had.
Was there anything that happened in your life, or maybe was it the culmination of all of the things that you had put into play because of your upbringing, the things that you were exposed to, and you thought, there's a formula here that's worked for me and I need to share this? Is that what created this book?
Yeah. So there was. I've always been interested in like Shaka Gawain's creative visualization and spirituality and karma and religion and all of it. Like what makes us tick, what makes things happen. I love reading success stories and documentaries and biographies and the rags to riches. I've just been fascinated by it. So one thing that I would do as probably in my early 20s, I started writing in a book once a year, one time a year, January. And in that book, I would write down, first I would be grateful. I would tell the universe, what I'm grateful for. Everything starts with gratitude. And then I would write down what was going to happen that year, not what I wanted to have happen, what I would try, what I would hope, what I wish for, what I wanted. It was, I will have a song in the top 10. I will renegotiate my contract, as if it was happening. And what I thought initially was it was just the power of writing it down and making it tangible and getting out of your head and onto paper. And I actually did a study group on it with a bunch of women. But the aha moment, it wasn't writing it down. It was the words that I was using. It wasn't wishing, hoping, wanting. It was having, being, doing, never trying. And that was the laser focus to like, why is this working? What is it? Why? And then the more I started thinking about the word try, I have a whole book about why it doesn't work, why we do it. And it's amazing.
Yeah. We are encouraged to come boldly before the throne of God. And, you were doing that every January in your writing and your declarations of things that were going to happen over your life. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about why the word try needs to be eliminated from our vocabulary, where it often pops up. And I really would love it if you would give our listeners and viewers some good strategy. What are they going to get from the book? What's going to help them move forward and be able to make these bold declarations like you did in your life and get to that next exciting chapter? Our guest today is Carla Ondrasik, and she is the author of Stop Trying: The Life Transforming Power of Trying Less and Doing More. And we'll be back right after this. Boy, everything has gotten so expensive these days. It sure is nice to tell you about a product and a company that most recently cut their price in half despite of all this inflation madness. Yes, this podcast is sponsored by MD Hearing. MD Hearing makes high quality, easy to use rechargeable hearing aids with unbelievable sound quality that are personalized for your hearing profile. And they just made their Neo rechargeable digital hearing aids only, are you ready for this? Listen carefully. $297 a pair. That is over 90% less than clinic hearing aids. $297 a pair. And it fits inside your ear. No one will ever know it's there. Plus, they just relaunched their Neo XS, smallest hearing aid ever. I recently gifted a friend of mine with these. He couldn't believe how well he heard, and he heard me right. $297 a pair. Get the high-quality, affordable hearing aids you deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com, use promo code OVER50 to get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Plus, they are adding a free extra charging case, a $100 value just for listeners of Over 50 and Flourishing. That is shopmdhearing.com. Use promo code OVER50 and get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Hey ladies, if you're dealing with thinning hair, I just want you to know there is something you can do about it. And sometimes it's a multi-pronged approach. Let me share with you Vegamore's Grow Hair Serum. Vegamore is the leader in plant-powered, science-backed solutions for thinning hair. The Grow Hair Serum was recently named the #1 prestige hair serum and is clinically proven to reduce shedding, leaving you with visibly fuller and healthier hair. What I love about it, it's so easy to use. Just a few drops once a day, you are good to go. It's super lightweight. You can use it on wet hair, on dry hair. It is a total game changer. After a few weeks, I did notice less shedding and my hair felt so much healthier. How wonderful, how easy. Listen, are you tired of dealing with the shedding and the thinning? Take back control of your hair with Vegamore. For a limited time, go to vegamore.com/over50, code over50 to get 20% off your first order. That's vegamor.com/over50, code over50 to save 20% on your first order. vegamor.com/over50, code over50. Welcome back to today's episode of Over 50 and Flourishing. We will try no more. We will be doers instead. Carla Ondrasik is getting us on the path to doing with her new book. And we were talking a little bit about that. And Carla, during the commercial break, you told me that Mel Robbins wrote your endorsement for the front cover. Okay, how cool is that?
Pretty amazing, pretty cool. I mean, just the universe has really delivered for me in a big way.
How did that happen?
It's okay. So when you're doing, you're always doing. When you're in that mindset, it just doesn't leave you. It is a mindset. And so about 8 years ago, this is a true story. I was in a hot tub in a hotel and I met these girls and I just talked to everybody. And I said, hey, what are you girls doing here? And they said, well, we book speakers. We have an event. So the first thing I did was I pitched my husband, John, who is an incredible keynote speaker, as well as an incredible recording artist. I said, oh, you should book my husband. He's so great. He has agents. He's legitimate. And I said, but who you should really book is Mel Robbins. And this is like at the beginning. This was 8-9 years ago. And I mean, she was a very established speaker, but not the success that she has right now. She's just exploding. And they said, well, who's Mel Robbins? I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to look her up. So cut to 6 months later, they did book my husband and it was a gig in Nashville. So I went with him. And the girls came running up to me and said, by the way, we also booked Mel Robbins. And I just was like a super fan and I wanted to meet her. So when I met her, she said, oh, you're the one that made this happen. And I must have mentioned at that time that I had a project that I was working on about not trying. And I was working on, a book. And she said to me at that time, I'll write the foreword to your book.
Wow. This is 8 years ago.
Yeah. And I never reached out to her again. And 8 years later, now I'm writing the proposal for my book, not even the book itself. And I sent it to her and I said, remember me? I'm the girl who booked you from the hot tub. And I mean, incredibly, she got right back and said, I don't have the bandwidth to write the forward because she was working on the let them theory, but said I would love to do the front cover endorsement. And she did it. She did it. And I'm so grateful to that. But, the not trying part is when you try, it's half-hearted, which we're going to get into. Yeah. When you're doing, you're always doing. It's a part of you. And if I hadn't been talking and meeting those girls and pitching, sharing Mel Robbins and engaging with people on that level, it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, not to mention the follow-up 8 years later, which most people would have been sidelined and would have talked themselves out of it and said, you know what, that was 8 years ago. She's big time now. I don't want to bother her, and would have tabled it. And look at the opportunity that would have been missed just from that mentality. I am so curious. What is it about the word try that is so half-hearted?
First of all, you have to think about what does it mean to try? And that means what do we think it means? And what does it really mean? And then I like to talk about why do we do it, and then how it's bad and how your life will be better without it. But so trying, what we think it means is we think we're doing when we're trying. And in reality, trying is a mental activity, but doing is a physical action. You're not doing when you're trying. So let's do a little test right now, okay? Right. Hold a finger out in front of you. And I'm going to give you 3 directions. The first direction is touch your nose. So touch your nose. Okay, that was great. Now you can take your finger off. The second direction is do not touch your nose. Perfect. Now, I want you to try to touch your nose. You're not going to touch it and you're not going to not touch it. I want you to see you physically try to touch your nose. Let's see what that looks like.
Well, I can't touch it.
You can't touch it. So let's see you try to touch your nose.
Well, it's a moot point, isn't it? Because nothing's happening.
It is. So there's no physical action for trying. Right. And your brain reacts much the same way that your finger does. It's like, wait a minute, am I doing this? Or am I not doing this?
Doing it, yeah.
Okay? And I'm not talking about semantics. I think it's really important to point that out right now. If you're standing at miniature golf with a golf club in your hand and you say, I'm going to try to make contact with the ball, the odds are you're going to do that. That's just semantics. But we try, and it affects our health, our happiness, our relationships, our careers, the really big ticket items. So we think we're doing when we're trying. We're not really conscious of the true meaning of it. What it really means to try is it's a half-hearted attempt or an effort. Webster's dictionary, any dictionary says trying is an attempt or an effort, but it's a half-hearted. It's more like I'll maybe kind of sort of do it later if-ish. And we all do this. We try because number one, we're taught to try. Everybody, we're taught by our parents, try harder, try your best, try it again, just try it. Just try the peas. I mean, even try the peas. We tell our kids, it means you don't have to taste them. We've already decided that I may not like it. I don't have to like
the peas.
Exactly. It would be so much, how about enjoy the peas?
Yeah,
have
exactly.
these peas, right? Don't try the peas. So, trying is half-hearted. We do it because we're taught to try. We think we're taught that trying is going to move the needle forward, but it's not. We try for so many reasons. But okay, so what it really means to try is it's another way of procrastinating. Okay, I'll try and get around to it. I'm going to try to do it. Let's just say, okay, my son, for example, moved to Texas. And I got the message that he needed, to go to the dentist. And I said, hey, Johnny, you need to make a dentist appointment. He go, okay, Mom, I'm going to try to do that, this week. Well, when you're my kid, you don't say try. And he stopped himself. He's like, what the truth is, I'm not going to do it. He just made the decision, I'm not going to do it. And so that's the difference between I'll try. You can allow for procrastination. And then we try because we want to lean on excuses and blame. I tried, but they didn't come through for me. I tried to do this for you, but I couldn't get there on time because there was so much traffic. Or so we can rely on excuses and blame, and there's zero accountability when you try. Oh, I didn't. Okay, I'll try to be there. You don't show up. No one's going to get mad at you because you only said you would try to be there. But had you said, I will be there, well, now someone's counting on you. Now you have accountability. So it's a whole bag of tricks. What we think it means, what it really means, why do we do this? For women, especially, it's hard for us to say no.
No, that's right.
No, I think you did a whole podcast, or you mentioned this in one of yours. It's so hard for us to be honest. And let me tell you, I think if you're invited to any event, say it's a fundraiser, and you tell the host or hostess, I'll try to be there. You're doing a lot of self-sabotage to yourself, and you're not offering that person, honesty. And I think the person would much better, would much more appreciate you just saying, you know what, I already know on Thursday night I'm going to be exhausted. I have a busy week. I'm not going to make it. We're not going to hurt their feelings. We're actually going to be honoring them with honesty and letting them know, okay, I don't need to set another place setting because they're not coming. You're done. You're honest. It's clear. And for you, when you say, I'll try, well, on Thursday, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I said I would try to go. It's in your head. Oh gosh, well, maybe I should go. I actually could squeeze it in. I should go, but I'm not going to go. You have all this mind chatter going on because you said you try. But when you just say, nope, not going, it's gone. So learning how to say no is a skill. And we often offer to try because we're so afraid of saying no.
Yeah, I think it totally plays into our disease to please. And I know that was a huge hurdle for me when in my younger years, I couldn't say no. And I think that when you do that, you leave it, to your point, you leave the door partially open. So it's like, okay, I didn't hurt that person's feelings because I said I would try. But in your heart of hearts, you're not going to commit to it. So then you make up the excuse, which is where the guilt comes, because now you're probably not being honest. You're making up something like, oh, I'm busy, or I needed to pick up my kid. You're making up excuses. Whereas if you honor yourself and your integrity and you say from the get-go, you know what, thank you for that invitation. I'm so grateful you thought of me. I'm so overcommitted. I really need to hit the pause button and not do anything. So I won't be there, but maybe in the future.
Exactly.
And it also plays into not only our disease to please others, but I think, as you were talking, I think our lack of commitment to ourselves. And a great example would be, let's say you want to start out on a new way of eating or exercise or whatever, and you say, well, I'll try it. Well, by doing that and saying I'll try also leaves the door open to give in too easily because you haven't fully committed to it. The trying means that when the going gets tough, I have an out to be able to say too hard, too intense, too much, can't do it, won't do it. And you give up. And when I think about that, what a self-sabotage, what an absolute sabotage to your worthiness and your self-esteem when you set yourself up like that, but don't follow through.
Absolutely. It's a terrible circle. So yeah, anytime you say, I'm going to try to do it, to like the weight loss thing, okay? I'm going to try to lose weight, and then you cheat, and then you end up trying again. Maybe you'll try 1 or 2 times, but then what happens, sadly, is we give up. When you're in a trying mindset, you'll try, you may try again, but then you give up altogether. When you're in a doing mindset, I'm doing this. Okay, I failed. I fell down. I'm going to pick myself up and I'm going to keep going. Doing does not equal success. It doesn't guarantee you any success. But by not trying, you're guaranteed a better chance at success. You see what I'm saying?
Totally.
When you
Doing guarantees effort, guarantees commitment. It doesn't guarantee outcome, but it guarantees that I'm all in. And that's
uh,
important.
that'll give you the best chance for success. And then another part of the trying, say, just using losing weight, for example,
Mhm.
there are women and men that have been trying to lose, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it is, for a decade. Okay. Women are trying to lose their baby weight, and their kids are in college. Okay. Because they're trying. And the problem isn't that they aren't trying hard enough. I'm sure they're trying with every ounce of effort that they have. Okay.
Mhm.
But the problem is that they're trying in the first place. You can try, try. So what happens is you try, you fail, you give up, and then you call yourself. All the negative self-talk starts
Mhm.
happening. This is the worst, saddest part to me of people that try and give up. The next phase is I'm weak. I am a loser. I can't do this. It's never going to happen for me.
Mhm.
That's the phase you don't want to get into. So again, doing doesn't equal success. It doesn't guarantee anything. But when you take out the try, you're going to give yourself better odds and you're going to pick yourself up when you stumble. You're going to stay on track when you fall off track. You're going to go until you either decide it's possible or not.
Mm. Why do you think women get stuck in the trying phase?
Well, to commit is scary. It really is. There's fear. So we're so afraid of, okay, it's hesitant. It feels really safe to try than to say, okay, I'm doing this. But
Mhm.
there are tricks around it. So just to sidestep here, when I decided to write the book and really go for it, I didn't tell anyone. It was my
Mhm.
secret
Yeah.
because I didn't want to subject myself to what anybody else was
Mhm.
thinking, anybody's negativity,
Yep.
even positivity. I just wanted to see if I could do it and do it. But when you boldly state that you're going to take a strong, determined action to do something, we're afraid of what people are going to think of us. What if we do fail? They're going to make fun of us. But that's not true. Women especially admire other women for taking the leap and being a leader and doing something and even failing and getting back up on their feet again. So it's kind of imagined that we think people are going to think badly of us when we try. But that's one of the reasons is fear.
Mhm.
We think that again, when we're trying, we trick ourselves into thinking we're doing. So here's a little bit of neuroscience, okay? Until now, the people that are listening, we're learning that trying is not all that it's cut out to be, okay? All this time you thought trying was an action word, but it's not. So say, you're at a party or you're at the office or wherever, and you start talking about all the things you're trying to do, okay? Trying to get back into uh, hair and makeup. My kids are launched, so I'm trying to
Mhm.
start a new business again. I'm trying to plant a garden. I want to get into, organic foods. I'm trying to lose the weight. I'm trying to quit smoking, trying to whatever. When you're talking about it, your brain doesn't know the difference between whether you're really doing it or not. So you're
Mhm.
getting hits of serotonin and dopamine and all these feel good neurotransmitters that are going on in your brain. And you're actually feeling energized by that. You're feeling like you're doing.
Mhm.
And but that can only last for so long. So for some people, talking about all the stuff they're trying to do is enough. Unfortunately, that's enough. That's giving them that hit to feel like I'm actually taking action, talking about it.
Mm.
And we know those people. They're the person that shows up at the annual party, but they're still trying to write their screenplay, or they're still trying to develop their, whatever it is. And again, you can fool yourself for so long. And then at some point, you're going to have to say, wow, like nothing's happening.
Our guest today is Carla Ondrasik. She has written a book called It's a No-Try Philosophy, Stop Trying, the Life-Transforming Power of Trying Less and Doing More. And your book is coming out in September, correct?
Correct.
Okay, how exciting. We're going to take one last break, rejoin Carla in just a bit. We're back right after this. Oh, spring has sprung, and that's when the bugs come. Look, it's inevitable. It happens to all of us. You get bugs during this time of year, and that's because spiders, ants, they come out in full force. We don't like being bugged, literally, by bugs, and when they do show up, you want them gone fast. Let me tell you about Pesty. Have you ever thought about actually doing it yourself? Yeah, do-it-yourself pest control. You can protect your own home easily and for a quarter of the cost. Other pest control companies charge over $800 a year, but with Pesty, you can get started for just $35 per treatment with a customized plan based on your location, your particular kind of bug, and your climate. So easy to get started. The kit includes a sprayer, a mixing bag, pesticide, gloves, instructions. You can do it all in less than 10 minutes. Why not? Protect your home from bugs with Pesty. Go to pesty.com/over50 for an extra 10% off your order. That's PESTIE.com/over50 for an extra 10% off. Wow, there sure are a lot of wake-up calls that we get when we get older, kind of like seeing pools of hair in the drain or our part looking a little bit wider. And then suddenly you're kind of flipping back through old photos wondering, has it always been this way? Well, that's why I love what OneSkin is doing. Their OS1 peptide has certainly been transforming our skin right here on Over 50 and Flourishing for a while. But now with their new scalp serum, OS1 Hair is here to help us with hair loss, thinning, and shedding. Let's get back to that OS1 peptide. It targets those aging cells. They're called senescent cells. And it's clinically proven to help your hair cells do what they're meant to do, and that is grow fuller, denser, and healthier hair. It is so easy to use, just a few drops a day. That is it. You rub it in, you style per usual. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide. Get 15% off with code OVER50 at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code OVER50. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin and scalp with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. Eating healthier has never been easier. Make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. So simple, just heat up and enjoy. It gives you time to do what you want when you want. You can get outside instead of prepping and cooking indoors. Factor meals arrive fresh. They are ready to eat. They're perfect for any active lifestyle. There are 45 weekly menu options. You can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and so much more. They also power your day with satisfying breakfasts. They've got on-the-go lunches, premium dinners, guilt-free snacks, and desserts. I am having the herb-crusted chicken tonight with the mashed cauliflower and green beans. Doesn't that sound great? Hey, savor more this spring. Factor meals pack in flavor with none of the fuss. Get started at factormeals.com/Dominique50off and use code Dominique50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code Dominique50off at factormeals.com/Dominique50off for 50% off plus free shipping. It's interesting you shared what you did about your book because I was the same way, Carla. I didn't tell anybody I was writing. It was a little side project that I had going on. It was like my own little secret. And I figured I'm going to do it and see. And this is my baby. And I find that and I guess I've always been different this way, but I'm just very private. And like you, I'm a doer. You know, as I listen to your early years, I see myself in you in many, many ways that I just kind of put myself out there in bold, crazy, unexpected ways. But I find that there are many women who almost do decision by committee. And I guess I've never understood that because they feel like they need to talk about it and talk with others and talk with family and talk with friends. It's as if they need this vote of approval to move forward in something. And I sometimes question the health of that. Now, I understand, you know, having support in your decision. But to your point, I think a lot of people get stuck in the chatter and in the communication thereof, but nothing happens. And so how can we move past that? And maybe there is a secret sauce in not sharing what it is that you're doing and actually just doing it and let that be your experience.
100%. It's in one of my, in the book I have Soulful Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is the power of silence.
Mm,
Okay. People that are making things happen, they don't have time to talk about it
right.
because they're busy doing. And you know what? It does provide a bit of a safety net when you hold your cards to yourself. Because
Mm,
when you fail, no one's watching. You know, when you want to take a break, no one's watching. When you're freaking out and you're terrified, you can do all that by yourself. But
right.
there were a lot of people, friends and family, that had no idea I was doing this until I had a book deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I went through the whole process by myself. Um, I am actually also a very private person, you know, anyway. So, but I didn't want any comments or any input. I didn't want any negativity. That's really what we have to shield ourselves from. And, you know,
Mm,
sometimes our friends and our family lovingly, they think they're helping us. Well, are you sure you want to do that? It's going to take up so much of your time, or there's so much competition, or, you know, they think they're protecting us. And I just think the way around it is if there's something you want to do, find a cheerleader if you need one person you can trust that you know will support you. That's it. And if you don't, just start taking steps toward that goal. I have a friend, her kids are launched. She's a mother of four
mm,
boys. And she recently
mm,
said, you know, I'm not going to try to do this thing. I'm doing it. And she's taking steps to do it. And you really have to just it's all an internal, it's if you want to do it, it's not what anybody else thinks about what you're doing about it. So doing is a strong determined action, and if you're going to try something, then you're already putting failure in, you're starting in second place.
mm.
If you're going to try, I'm going to try to, you know, resurrect my music publishing career, that means that I may fail. That means I'm already starting behind the first place. So doing though is I'm doing this. I'm going to go for it. And it's a whole different mindset. And you're starting in first place.
Yeah. Carla, what are some of your best practices in doing? Because I think a lot of people, if they were to sit back maybe and write that list of areas in their life where they would like to seek change, whether it is personal, professional, whatnot, and sometimes, you know, the list can be long. How do you recommend people go about the doing? I mean, do you just kind of spray it like BB guns? Do you tackle one thing at a time? What are your best practices here?
All right, okay. Well, one of the first things that you have to do is you have to get real about your goals,
Mm,
okay? So you have to make sure, you know, at 61 years old, okay, and I'm 5 foot, I'm never going to play for the LA Lakers, okay? So I know that that's not a possibility for me. So, but I could work for the LA Lakers. That's a
mhm,
possibility, okay? So you have to really make sure that you have your ducks in a row. Do I have the ability? Do I have the education, the finances, the time, like whatever it is? So I call it get real about your goal, okay? Like make sure it's actually a possibility. You know, we might have in our brain all these airy fairy ideas of things that we want to do, and that's what's going to keep you stuck in trying because you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to take the action that you need. Start small. So for anyone out there right now, I would say today, like right now, as soon as you're finished with this podcast, pick 2 things that you've been trying to get done. Maybe it's call for a doctor's appointment. Make a doctor's for your annual mammogram or your skin check, your dermatology, like something that you've been trying to get around to doing. Do it. Do one small thing and then do another small thing. You don't want to tackle the huge things, but really become familiar with, what am I trying to do? Why have I been half-hearting that thing? And pick the small thing and start doing it. So I'd say start small. Give yourself a time limit. So I think when you have a ticking clock, you have a gauge. So I am going to, you want to keep it compact so that you can manage your goal. So I am going to clean out the junk drawer in the kitchen that I haven't been able to close for a year because it's shoved with like all this garbage. I am going to have that junk drawer cleaned out by tonight. And you're going to be amazed at how, first of all, easy it is to do it. Like it'll take you 10 minutes. And then you're going to feel so amazing once you've done it because, wow, I just completed my goal. I don't have to think about it anymore. I've been looking at the drawer for a year. This is what we do to ourselves. This is the list of trying to do is incredible. So start small, give yourself a time frame. I'm referring to my notes here. Really, here's the last one I'll tell you. The biggest one is have fun. Like really have fun with this. It shouldn't be laborious or a drudge or something else you have to do. Really treat it like, you know what? I'm going to make my list of my 2 or 3 things that I've been trying to get done. I've been trying to call my girlfriend across the country. I've been trying to write a thank you note or whatever it is. I'm trying to finally pot the plant that's sitting in the backyard for the last 6 months, dying in the pot it came in. So pick something like that and go do it and have fun. This is amazing. It's life-changing. I would like to share a story with you right now because I think it's appropriate of how quickly this mindset works. Okay. So my kids, I would drive them to the bus down the street every morning at 7 a.m. And then I'd go to the park and I'd walk around with the dog. Every day I would see this guy with headphones, giant headphones, and he'd walk around the park really quietly every single day. And I always wondered, like, what's that guy listening to? And so one day he had the headphone off and I went up to him. I said, hey, I'm so curious. I was in the music business. Like, what are you listening to? And he's like, oh, I listen to self-help podcasts and, books on tape. I have a really hard time motivating. There's so many things I'm trying to do. I can't get done. And when I hear the word try, I'm like, ding, 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 ding. So I said, tell me something you're trying to do right now. And he goes, well, I'm trying to get back into swimming. We have the new pool at the YMCA. I need to start exercising again. And I looked at this guy and I said, stop trying to go swim and go swim. That was it. And he put his headphones on and I thought, I'm never going to see this guy again. I've just ruined the whole park experience, right?
Because he's swimming now.
Right? 24 hours later, I went to drop the kids off and this guy is screaming, like hands waving. I did it. I did it. I didn't try. I swam. And he is still swimming and he quit his job. He's changing his life. It's unbelievable. That's how quickly this works. When you stop trying to do all those little things that you want to do. So trying is thinking about something, worrying about something, wondering about something. And that's what he was doing. He was meditating on it and thinking and wondering and getting advice when all he had to do was go do the thing.
Yeah.
So it can be so quick, I don't even remember your original question now. I got off on that story, but
No, it's a great story. And to your point, Carla, sometimes we just need a swift kick in the tuchus. It's like, go,
exactly.
do it. Stop talking about it. I mean, doesn't it drive you crazy when you hear people talk about the same thing over and over and over, and yet nothing's been done about it? And, you were talking about these small steps, but it seems to me like these micro wins are like compounding interest. If you start small and you do, the self-esteem that you derive from it, the realization that it wasn't nearly as hard as you thought it was, the way you feel after is profound. It's this tumbleweed, and it's going downhill, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then suddenly you realize, wow, you've got momentum, and you're no longer trying. You are this big old weed of doing. And, it's so powerful what that can do for you.
It's unbelievable, and it touches every aspect of our life. So now that you're, becoming aware of what the trying is, think about, okay, I'm going to try to spend more time with my kids. I'm going to try to work on my marriage. Okay. Mm-hmm. Why would you half-heart that? Like, right. Why are you those are when you graduate from the little everyday things to the big things. Or I'm trying to make that doctor's appointment, right? That could be life-saving for you, if you wait too long, if you try too long. So when you get into the doing mode, when you start doing, the benefits are, you feel really confident and you're a winner, and other people notice it. You garner more respect from people, and you hold yourself accountable, and it's all good things. Mm-hmm. It really is.
Yeah, and they want to know what the secret sauce is too. And I think that's where the wisdom, and that's the beauty about this age, and what I'm starting to see a lot of. There are so many women in midlife, 50s plus, who aren't gatekeeping what they've learned. And there's so much information out there to take in. And I think that's what we need to do. It's like, once we've figured it out, we've made our mistakes, or we have reaped the reward of our successes, we need to impart that. There are people out there who are hungry for this information, and you never know what you have, how that might impact another woman out there, which is probably why you sat there in silence and started writing your book.
I did. I mean, I feel like I had to do this. At this point in my life, like, I am shocked that I'm doing this. I didn't expect this to happen, but it really has been very organic for me. And I do feel a responsibility. The younger generation right now are used to getting things quicker, faster, better, without any effort. Mm-hmm. And doing requires effort. Doing requires you take time. If you look at the statistics, I mean, I hate to say them, but the suicide rate, the work ethic of young people, they don't really, not all, but many, just, they don't really want to work. And so I just think that bringing this new mindset, and imagine students, I'm not going to try to get good grades. I'm going to get good grades. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to take the time. It's really slowing down and focusing on an effort instead of just throwing I'll try with no accountability. So I feel like it's really important right now for all of us. And like you said, the women in our age group, I did speak to women, and the theme, it was like 12 women, and the theme was our final, not our final, but what's our next chapter. They were like 70 and 80 years old. Mm-hmm. And I said, you guys, if there's anything that you've tried to do or have hesitated, jump in the middle of that pool right now. You have everything you need. You're going to fail and survive. You're going to make mistakes and survive. The effort that it takes. You already have all the information you need, and you're still here. So you might as well utilize all of that information and go in and spend the rest of your time doing what it is you want to do instead of stuck trying.
Right. And I think too, it is our duty and obligation as parents of children who are launching, or grandparents. You have so much wisdom to impart to these children. And these are conversations that I have with my son all the time. And I tell him, I'm like, you realize what is going to separate you from the pack is your tenacity, your wherewithal, your fortitude, your ability to stick it out beyond the point of somebody else. And I said, there are so many in your generation that they're quitting too easily. It gets hard, it gets uncomfortable. They don't want any part of it. You push, you grow, you work, you have to have a work ethic and those things. And it's so funny because that's how we grew up. We're products of the 70s and 80s. Nothing was handed to us. We worked every summer, worked through school. All of those things served us so well as students of life. And our children, whether by choice or this overcompensation in parenting, it's like we didn't want our kids to have to go through what we went through, but yet what we went through was so character shaping. So I think that we need to have these hard conversations and sometimes have to push our kids to go above and beyond just focusing on academics or sports, but get some real life skills out there and develop that, because otherwise our kids, well, to your point, well, I tried, and then
it didn't come quick enough. It didn't come easy enough. So you just give up. I did a post recently about, this drives me crazy. So, well, I called them and I haven't heard back. Okay. I'm trying to reach someone, that's it's the beginning, the middle, and the end of trying. I called them or I sent them a text. For some reason, we think it's rude or obnoxious to actually make a second call. When I want to reach somebody, I'm not going to try to reach them. I'm going to send them a text, leave them a voicemail, and an email. If I want to make contact with that person, sometimes you're going to have to call back 2 or 3 times and make the effort. But yeah, we get all this, well, it didn't happen the first time. I left a message. I haven't heard from them. Oh, well, you're missing out on what reward you could get by putting a little effort in and maybe making that second or third phone call, because then you're going to get your answer, or make contact with that person. So, yeah.
That's a great example. And to your point, doing isn't just one and done. Doing could be doing the same thing over and over to finally get the result. So sometimes there is repetition in the doing. And I wanted to button it up just by throwing some rapid fire questions your way, because we're not going to try, we're going to do. Okay, so give me one word that would describe this chapter in your life.
Brave.
A daily habit that keeps you grounded.
Connecting with nature every day.
Love that. A limiting belief that you have let go of.
That I'm too old.
Beautiful. And I know you have a book coming out, but a bold action you're excited to take next.
That would be promoting this book. So instead of doing it for others, doing it for myself.
Yes. And how does it feel? What are some of the steps that you're taking in this transition? Because you mentioned early in the podcast that this is sort of an uncomfortable space for you, doing this self-promotion. And, this is kind of it's the new world that we're in. It's kind of wild what you have to do to get a book promoted, or anything for that matter. So walk us through kind of how you're stepping outside this comfort zone to embrace this new way of doing things.
Well, the biggest thing I'm doing is I'm being honest about it. I'm not keeping it inside and feeling bad for feeling insecure or afraid, because it is something new. And my kids are so great. I share with them that I'm afraid. And I think it's great for them to hear that, because to see their mom be afraid at my age is a really a beautiful gift to give them. Because, you don't have to pretend to be confident in every situation. So I think my honesty, also having good people around me, I'm starting to hire, the people that I need, and
the team.
Yeah, my team, I feel really great about my team. By the way, they're all women. I
Hmm.
can't even believe it. My
Yep.
agent, my publicist, my everybody they're women, my editors, the woman that signed me. So that's a really fun thing. I'm very comfortable, with my team. And just every day I I say to myself, Carla, like, it's okay. If you fail, you're learning and you're not supposed to know everything. Like, I literally look at myself and say, it's okay if you mess up today. It's okay
Mhm.
if you're not ready for this. And so I just provide a lot of comfort to myself. And it's amazing. And then I just put one foot in front of the other and just and at the other side of it, at the end of the day, I'm usually really proud of myself because it wasn't as hard as I thought or as scary as
Mhm.
I thought it would be. And then of course to be prepared. That's another thing. I just want to make sure I'm as prepared and learning as much as I can about what I need to do.
Mm. I'm really glad that you mentioned preparation because that's the key to success in doing. I
Yeah.
think you have to walk yourself through what it is that you need to do in order to do instead of approach it randomly or haphazardly. This is very intent driven, thought driven process, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I'm preparing all day long. I'm
Mhm.
learning all day long. So when you're in the moment, you're ready. And there's many ways to do that. I'm watching other people. I'm reaching out to other people. I'm asking questions. I'm studying this whole new world. And
Mhm.
the great thing is that I really am so impressed with myself. I'm
You
so
should
proud of
be.
myself. And every at the end of the day, I think that I'm like, wow, like you're
Mhm.
doing this. And I'm so proud that I'm doing it.
Don't you feel too, as we kind of close this up, I find this to be so important that you need to put a declaration out there to those in your life. Like, hey, this is a new way that I'm doing things. I'm approaching this, I'm going after this, whether it is writing a book, whether it is a new way, a healthy way of living. This is what I've set out for me. And I want supporters and not saboteurs. Are you in?
Absolutely. Yes. When you're at the point where you're actually in the middle of doing it now and you're
Mhm.
not hiding it and being secretive, for sure. You have to hold your flag up high
Mhm.
and say either you're in my army or you're not. And yeah, there were times when I wasn't making dinner for everybody because I was busy writing. Like that's just not going to happen right now. This is important to me and I'm putting myself first and saying no to things. No, I'm not going to be able to go, out to lunch with the girls because I have a deadline. And um, it's constantly, it's ever changing, but setting the boundaries for yourself is really important. So I'd say that's a boundary.
Yeah, I would say so too. And I think that communication and the declaration is also putting out there, again, that bold statement to not only yourself, but to those around you that there is a new way of operating here. And,
Mhm.
if you embrace it, you're going to be the beneficiary because I'm going to be a better person for it. And if I'm a
Yeah.
better person, you're going to enjoy me more and you're going to enjoy this connection more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people in your life who wouldn't want to support you if you're doing something that makes you happy. So yeah, declaring it, putting it's another way of letting the universe know that you're there, you know.
Yep, it's a bold step. Well,
Yeah.
Carla, so excited for you. You are living proof after a tremendously successful career in the music industry, pivoting, writing a book, 61. It's never too late for anything. If God puts a seed in your heart, honor it, water it, and do it. And you're all about doing, and we're not going to try anymore. Carla Ondrasik, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you. I've loved our conversation.
Me
Don't
too.
try, do.
Do. So if you found yourself nodding in agreement with Carla, then it's time to stop trying and to start doing. Her Stop Trying book is coming out in September. It is available for pre-sale. We'll put links to her website. Of course, you can find it on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. But I certainly encourage you to get out there and do in this life. You will reap the rewards, they are so, so fruitful. If you enjoyed today's content, please give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, and you can leave a comment in the comment section below. Even throw out some ideas for topics, guests that you would like to see here on Over 50 and Flourishing. And if you're listening, wherever you listen to a podcast, I always ask and encourage you to rate, review, subscribe, and share Over 50 and Flourishing with those that you know and love. We are building this beautiful community of women in midlife. I love booking guests like Carla, women who have stories to tell, and maybe you're one of them. So look forward to hearing from you, and thanks again for tuning in. Eating healthier has never been easier. Make this your best season yet with nutritious 2-minute meals from Factor. So simple, just heat up and enjoy. It gives you time to do what you want when you want. There are 45 weekly menu options. You can pick gourmet meals that fit your goals, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, Keto, and so much more. Get started at factormeals.com/Dominique50off and use code Dominique50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. That's code Dominique50off at factormeals.com/Dominique50off for 50% off plus free shipping. Wow, there sure are a lot of wake-up calls that we get when we get older, kind of like seeing pools of hair in the drain or our part looking a little bit wider. And then suddenly you're kind of flipping back through old photos wondering, has it always been this way? Well, that's why I love what OneSkin is doing. Their OS1 peptide has certainly been transforming our skin, but now with their new scalp serum, OS1 Hair is here to help us with hair loss, thinning, and shedding. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide. Get 15% off with code OVER50 at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code OVER50. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin and scalp with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you.